Music is the divine language of the heart. It helps us realize a fundamental truth of our human nature. When we are moved by a song's essence, its treble, its bass, its rhythm, its lyrics, its passion, and its depth, we understand that man must explore. And this is exploration at its greatest. Get ready as we launch into song exploration. All right, great to be back with Catalina. This is Raphael. The song we're going to break down tonight is called Shelter of Your Arms by Paul Simon. And this is an unreleased song that he threw on one of his albums, but...
Well, actually, it's a work in progress. I don't know. I don't think it was ever released on an album.
Okay.
Based on my research, this song actually turned into another song called When Numbers Get Serious that was on the Hearts and Bones album from 1983.
Right.
So I don't think that I don't actually know how I found this song. I stumbled on it one day, I think on Spotify, but everywhere you find it, it says Unreleased Work-in-Progress in parentheses next to the song name. Right. But it's just such a cool song that, I thought we could talk about it anyway, even though there's very, very little information on this song. Right. So this is going to be super, super based on Raphael and Catalina's opinion of what this song means, because there's so little about what it means. And I'll be honest, I listened to some of the When Numbers Get Serious song, and I don't know when Paul Simon didn't stick with the Shelter of Your Arms. It's such a good song, and I was not impressed with the When Numbers Get Serious. So sorry, Mr. Simon. We disagree on that.
I totally agree with you, Catalina. Definitely you should have kept the song. The song was amazing.
I know.
He says,
so
not
good.
Done. I think it's done perfectly.
Right?
I really love it. It really resonated with me. I was so glad you found it. It's really cool. So you want to jump in there?
Let's do it.
So you want me to read the first couple lines?
Yep, let's do it.
So wrap me, do in the shelter of your arms. So I love that first line. For me, it makes me think of God or also my wife, but someone or people that I trust, that I find consolation with. People who are really close to me, who I've been very vulnerable with and I can be vulnerable with. It's a place of safety. But I think of God's arms and, as a father, and even some of the scripture passages of like a good shepherd and just being held in the arms of someone who is going to take care of me. So I just love that line, like wrap me up. And I also think of my wife, and I think of her unconditional love and support. And that's a beautiful blessing to have. If you can even have one person in your life who treats you that way, that's a blessing. So, yeah, that's what comes off to me right off the bat, those first two lines. What about you?
Yeah, one of the things that I love lyrically about Paul Simon is, his music is so cool. Like the actual instrument part of it. Like he's really unique in the stuff that he picks, and it's such an interesting sound. You almost don't know what genre it fits in. But I also love that he's so his lyrics they have such strong imagery to them. Like when someone tells a really good story and you can picture pieces of the story as they're telling it, that's very much Paul Simon in general. And I think this song is no exception. So for me, it's very poetic, and there's a lot of imagery to it. And the shelter of your arms, right? You think of seeking shelter somewhere that you're going to be safe, but the shelter is someone's arms, someone's embrace. It's really beautiful. I really, really like it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. A place of safety. And you're right. I love Paul Simon. I remember a friend of mine introduced me to him kind of later in life. I want to say I was in either my senior year of high school or freshman year of college. And I'll never forget, a buddy of mine said, Raphael, you're going to love this. Oh, man, you will love him. And, man, it started off. I think the first song I heard was diamonds on the soles of her shoes, that tune. And I was dating a girl at the time who it was a little bit of a joke because she had a somewhat wealthy family, and but anyways, I love him, and it's really cool. You want to go to the next few lines?
Yeah, so the next couple lines are, I'm an extraordinary individual, and I will do you no harm, and I will tell you no lies if you don't want me to. And if you want me to, I'll lie in the shelter of your arms, in the palm of your embrace. And, one of the things that popped out to me the very first time I heard this song is there's a saying, and I don't remember the whole saying, but it's a play on words. And it's like, I think there's actually even a movie, like a cheesy movie where Will Smith says these, I think it might be Hitch, where he says this toast, but it's basically like, don't lie, but if you have to lie in someone else's arms or something like that. And it's like this, I can't remember, like, don't steal if you're going to, but if you have to steal away a kiss or so, like, it's making it something positive. And he has the same play on words here. Like, he talks about, I'm not going to lie to you and I'm not going to do you any harm. But if you want me to, I'll lie in the shelter of your arms, and it's just, again, I love the imagery with it. I really like, again, the poetic way that he talks about this intimacy and this just very gentle, tender moment between two people. Even, saying the palm of your embrace. I really like that. I think it's really beautiful. It's very poetic. I know I keep saying that, but I can't think of a better way to describe it, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. And, that line, I'm an extraordinary individual and I will do you no harm. I will tell you no lies if you don't want me to. I love that because it almost is very human, like a person when you're in love and you're trying to prove yourself to someone. So it's almost like he's giving himself courage, like, I'm an extraordinary individual, but I won't do you no harm. I'll tell you no lies unless you want me to lie to you. Like, if, it's almost like, what do you want? And I'll give it to you what you want.
It's also a little saucy,
Yeah,
I think. Like,
totally.
Paul Simon's a little saucy, and he's got a little bit of an ego sometimes, I think. And I think this song fits perfectly with somebody who has, like, a little bit of an ego, It's endearing at the same time, though,
Yep. All right, you want to move to the next one?
Let's do it.
Go for it.
I could deny the obvious. I could rest my case. And I don't rest my case for no one if I'm not in the mood to. I want to stop there.
Sure.
So, I mean, obviously, again, he's using imagery. Like, I feel like he's talking like a lawyer. Like,
right.
Or even saying, I could pretend that I'm not into you and that I don't love you. And be done with it. But let's see. And I don't rest my case for no one if I'm not in the mood to. Like, so I'm not going to give up and, like, surrender to anybody. Like, if I don't want to, it's not something I do normally. Like, I'm kind of, again, back to that, like, his little sassy little pain in the butt. Like, I don't need to, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I'm too perfect to fall in love with someone and act like a fool because I'm in love with someone, or to concede because I'm in love with someone. It's kind of like what was what I was getting from it.
Right. And he uses that line about the obvious and I could rest my case in another one of his songs, The Obvious Child. So he did pull from some of these lyrics and some of his other songs that he did release, which is interesting, but I love the song. So when I'm in the mood, I try. Take a long look at these laugh lines. They go halfway around the block.
I love that line.
Yeah, why?
Because there's the laugh lines, from what I understand them to be, they're basically the creases in the corner, or the crow's feet, as women like to call them. But they're like the creases in your eyes when you smile. And so laugh lines is basically saying, like, those are what you get from smiling a lot. And so he's saying, take a long look at these laugh lines. They go halfway on the block, which kind of tells me, like, they're really long I've had like his life has been really happy. There's been lots of joy with it. So much so that they go around the block, which I don't know. I think it's really endearing, and it makes me smile because makes me think of like, there's no better reason to get wrinkles than because you've been smiling so much,
No, it's beautiful, and it goes beautiful into the next two lines. In the shelter of your arms, I'll stop the clock, I'll stop the clock, I'll stop the clock. And for me, hearing him say, I'll stop the clock, makes me just once again feel that safety. When you love someone and you fall in love, and even when that love gets more and more intimate, more and more vulnerable, like time stops, time stands still. The world, everything can stop. It's the most important thing. And I think with, a spouse or someone, a committed partner, or someone you're in love with, it's a beautiful imagery. I think it's also a beautiful imagery with, a parent and a child. And it's a really beautiful imagery with, a spiritual, with a higher power or a God of your understanding, thinking of God that way, that I can rest in God and kind of rest in that joy, that peace, that serenity, is something that, I think is beautiful. What about you?
Yeah, I also think when he talks about the laugh lines, because he's talking about wrinkles, it's time, right? Like there's a undertone of time passing, because if you're a baby and you've had no time pass, you're not going to have any laugh lines because you're young. So laugh lines is something that comes with age, but it's really cool because then he plays on that by saying, basically in your arms, like I'll stop the clock, like I'll stop time from passing. We'll kind of stay like this forever. Like time stops when I'm with you type thing, which I think is really cool. And if anybody, listening has had an experience where they've been in love with somebody or even puppy love, I think those moments where time just stands still, it's flying by, but it feels like it's standing still because you're just so mesmerized by this other person and so at peace being in their presence. And I think that he kind of references that here.
Right. All right. Move on.
Yep.
I lived a year once in a hotel because I failed to read a sign. For a long time, I was miserable. Then I felt just fine. Now I feel so fine so often. I'm just like a textbook case. Just a textbook case of fine. And I love that. I lived a year once in a hotel because I failed to read the sign.
What the heck is he talking about?
So for me, it's funny. Yeah, I was thinking about that. But then I was thinking maybe it's like the parts of life, right? So if you think of like a yin and a yang, when you fall in love, you got to almost experience things of not being in love, like what it's like to be lonely, what it's like to be numb, what it's like to not have that embrace. You're almost like a zombie state. So he just was like a zombie for a while, right? He failed to read, like he didn't see what was going on in front of him, and he was miserable, and then he felt just fine, and now he feels so often. And I think it ties into this love relationship that because of this shelter of being in this arms, that embrace, he's fine, and he could be a textbook case of fine. And I think that's kind of cool. But what was your interpretation?
I'll be honest. If Mr. Simon is listening to this podcast, I would love to hear exactly what the heck you were talking about when you said I lived in a year in a hotel once because I failed to read a sign. I mean, it's so explicit. There has to be a story behind that. That's not something you come up with out of the blue.
I think it is something you come up with.
I don't know.
He's witty.
It's true. But I do like your interpretation of it. I think that's kind of fun. But, I also think... for a long time, I was miserable. Then I felt just fine. Now I feel so fine so often. I'm like a textbook case. I think, it could speak to the fact that he was really unhappy before he met this significant other. And he feels awesome now. And almost like a reverse of like a textbook case of being sick, but he's a textbook case of being well. Like he's well so often, like it got, I don't know, like it kind of seems almost like a little bit of a reverse because you wouldn't typically say somebody who's gotten great is like a textbook case.
Right.
Usually would say somebody who's sick and like is going through the sickness exactly according to what the medical book says is a textbook case.
Yeah.
But so I wonder if it's a little bit of a play on like opposites because I know, again, to your point, he's very, he's ironic and, likes to come up with witty sayings. And so I wonder if there's a little bit of a reverse there. But I think your guess with the hotel is a great guess. I can totally see that, but I would love to know if there's a story behind that.
Yeah. It's interesting, artists, and not Paul Simon, but I want to say if it was Pearl Jam or there was somebody they were asking about, like, what's the meaning of the song? And I think they stopped declining to give a meaning because they said so many people pull their own meaning. And that's what's so beautiful about music and cool about music. Neat. It's spiritual. There's something there, and you can pull from even the way the music is, the intensity of the vocals, the intensity of the riffs, whatever it happens to be, the piano, like it can hit you. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And it's cool to kind of reflect like what the song does to you. And then when I listen to this song, it kind of gives me a soft, warm euphoria. I feel safe.
It is. It's a warm and fuzzy song, for sure.
It's a warm and fuzzy song.
Yeah. And I would say for our listeners, we obviously can't play the song on here because we don't have any rights to the song. But I would highly recommend that you listen to it on Spotify or, wherever you listen to music, because it is a really, really, really nice song. It's short. It's short and sweet. I think it's like less than 2 minutes. But it's a nice fuzzy song and, really sweet.
Yep. Totally.
So that's pretty much it. He does the chorus again, the rap me do, and so on and so forth. But I'd love to hear what our listeners have to say about the song if they listen to it and what their interpretation of it, even maybe what that mysterious line or 2 lines are about living in a hotel, failing to read a sign. I'd love to hear what our listeners have to say about that, if maybe they find a meaning behind that. But great song. Highly recommend listening to it. And it was fun going through this one, even though it was a quick one.
This was a quickie, but it was a good one. So it was cool doing this song with you, Catalina. And until the next time, thank you so much for listening. And
Peace out.
Peace out. We out of here. Like a ball man. Thank you for exploring this song with us. Be sure to listen to all our episodes on song exploration.